Hey guys.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing, Lindsay?
I'm great. How are you doing, Ricky?
Not too bad. Not too shabby.
I'll take it.
We're just trying to get the Luis Ceres set up. He's right around there.
Okay.
Let me help him out for a little bit.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. Put okay on there.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Luis is in. He's just shy. We don't want to show his face.
All right. Have you all had a chance to look over the materials from last time and work on your assignments?
Yes. Yes.
Cool. Were you able to log into the LMS?
Uh,
Yes.
I turned my assignment in.
Okay, cool. Any issues or questions?
No.
Nice.
I got about halfway through, and then uh 2 a.m. generator runs 2 days in a row, then the mock survey. So I did not complete all of mine, so I apologize.
All good. Yeah, I just want to make sure that you can log into the LMS and see if you had any questions about the assignment.
The only issue I know everyone had was just kind of converting it so we can edit and then drop it back in. But I think everyone figured out the workaround.
Okay. Okay. Did you get it as a PDF?
We didn't get it as a PDF, we had to make it to a PDF, right?
We had to
Right.
convert it, but with our system, and it was a little harder than just a
Yeah.
regular simple conversion.
And you had to, did you have to convert it to a PDF to upload it?
Yes.
Well,
To edit it.
we couldn't write anything on it like our answers. It
Yeah.
wouldn't. Our system wouldn't let us, so we had to convert it.
Oh,
But we figured it out.
I'm sorry about that. Can we do anything on our end to make it easier for you guys?
No, I think that might be an IS issue because it's
Yeah.
protected by
Yeah, it's a firewall issue. Looks like.
yeah.
Okay.
I think we all figured it out, so we're in good shape.
Okay.
If you can see it, yeah, then that means we got it. But if you can't, then we might probably have to go back to the drawing board.
Okay.
Yeah, it said, I know that Rick's and myself and probably V's said that it was pending approval. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Amanda messaged me. She's one of our reviewers, so she's gonna be reviewing your assignments and just giving you feedback on them. It's not like it's, I don't want to say it's not serious because what we're doing is the meaningful work, but it's not like we're back, in school and getting graded.
we're
It's more
still
of
we're
like
st-
feedback.
we're still taking it serious.
Good, good.
Yeah, I'm speaking for the team.
Very serious. It's very serious stuff.
hmm Very serious, yes. Hey, Mohammed.
Hello, good morning.
Morning. I was just talking to these guys about the assignment from last time. Did you have any issues logging into the LMS or getting access to the assignment?
I did not have issues, but I did have issues locating the assignment.
Oh, interesting. Okay, tell me more about that.
Was it the mentor assignment?
Shouldn't have been a mentor assignment. Did
Uh,
you see? Is that what
Yeah.
it said though?
yeah.
Yeah. So the first page is mentor. If you scroll down to the next assignment, you'll have the material with with the questions and the scenarios and everything.
I'll ask our support team about that because we shouldn't have those mentor assignments in there. So I don't want you to have to kind of like look for the assignment each time. Hey, Ruben.
Hey,
Ruben, did you have any issues logging into the LMS or getting access to the assignment?
no, it only took a few seconds.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. All right, Joe is joining now. We're all together. I know a few of you are going to our Legacy Live workshop right after this. So I'm going to intentionally give us some buffer time between um, this session and that one, just in case we need it and to help with transition. But yeah. Any thoughts or questions about that first class now that it's been a couple of weeks? Anything like reflections that you want to share or anything that you've worked on since then?
Mm.
Mhm. Okay. I think.
Okay. Has anyone worked on being more creative or compassionate since last time?
Yes.
Tell
Yes.
me
Yes.
more.
Well, just this morning, just some issues with our third shift personnel.
Oh,
Uh, just kind of not following tool protocol and just kind of instead of me going in and just kind of getting after him about it, just kind of taking some time, send an email, let his boss know kind of what's going on, and then we'll see where we go from there.
okay.
But
Great.
it could have been an all me all this morning type deal, but we're gonna think on it for a second, not come in hot.
Good. Anyone else? Any compassionate or creative moments?
Me, the opposite, not compassionate.
You're working on lowering it. How are you doing?
Yeah, actually pretty good. I had some work orders that were left in my desk from another shift, and usually I would just handle it. And I returned them back and just gave them information of what they needed to do, who to call or whatnot. But no ownership. So I'm trying to put my foot down.
Good for you. Hey, Miguel.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. Hey, congrats on
Oh, thank you.
CHFM. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Very good. I was just asking everyone about the LMS if you've had any issues logging in or getting access to the assignment or any questions about the assignment.
So our, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think like my computer has a firewall or something, so it takes me a little bit to log on. I'm not able to change my password or and it does give us some trouble, and I haven't been able to get through it, but I was able to do the homework, upload it, and do that. First page was like a mentorship, which I didn't know we needed to do that, or if we needed to do that. So I haven't done that yet.
No, you don't. And I apologize. I didn't realize that was in there. I'm going to talk to our support team about taking all that mentorship assignments out. So you should just have the class and the class
Okay.
assignment. Yeah. And then I wonder if there's anything that we can do with your IS team to help whitelist us so this doesn't continue to become a hurdle. I mean, it's something that we can certainly like work around, as we have to, but there might be an easier way so there's not that firewall. So I'll ask Salem to see if we have any options to help make this a little easier for you guys.
He's gonna
Okay.
say, "Good luck with our IS." I guarantee it.
I I've heard that before.
I'll put in a ticket if that helps. I'll put in a ticket and I'll let them know when they contact me. I'll let them know, hey, we're taking a class and
Okay.
we have to access this site. because on the email it said to use Google Chrome, and it won't open in Google Chrome. I have to use Explorer, I think.
Oh, yeah, Chrome provides the best user interface. I know when other browsers are used, we can get into some glitchy things, but we'll see. But I appreciate you putting in a help ticket.
Okay.
That might prompt some sort of like resolution. But
Yeah.
you are not allowed to have Chrome.
No, we do use
We have
Chrome,
Chrome.
Okay,
but when I open it in Chrome, it automatically gives me it's blocked. It's a blocked site.
I see.
So yeah, you're right. We need to just put y'all on the whitelist, and so you'll let us get to it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. How are you doing about either being more creative or less compassionate?
Call me.
Yeah.
Oh, uh,
Good.
uh, that's my answer. I'm not sure. I mean, I am being a little bit more demanding. I guess you can probably ask these guys. Um, I don't think I've been as compassionate as I was before. So I don't know. Hey, Rick, have I been compassionate?
No, absolutely not. You're doing really good at that part. Yeah. But it's good. We need that.
That's great. Okay, cool. Um, does anyone have anything before we jump into time management that we need to discuss as a group?
Oh, well, what Miguel said about trying to log in. So when we initiated the logins, it gave us the option to put our own passwords, but it's kicking us back to we're having to refer back to the password that y'all gave us. We can't.
Oh,
It won't let us. I mean, every time we log in, it's asking for that password.
interesting. Okay. I'll ask our support team about that too. Thank you.
Mhm.
Great. All right, we're going to take a break at the halfway point, and we'll wrap up a few minutes early. Because I know some of us are going to go to the Legacy Live workshop after this, and I want to allow us to have a little bit of buffer time in between those two meetings. So time management is one of my favorite topics. I do think it's a skill that you can continue to improve. And a lot of what we're going to talk about today is just kind of some of the science behind managing your time. There's some like evidence-based research in here. Rather than going through, I mean, we'll go through some of like the classic methodologies, but what I'm really interested in is just like how we're thinking about time and how we're prioritizing and spending our time. Um, because when you're in a leadership role, the demands for your time are just so much higher, as you know. And this is a topic where it's like, yeah, like I know I probably have more on my plate than I should take on, or I'm getting pulled in all these different directions, but maybe you feel like you can't do anything about it. So this is how to help us have, some of those conversations about like what are we doing about it and like what are some of our options. Thank you for having your cameras on. We'll take a break at that halfway point and wrap up just a little bit early. I do have a discussion question just right off the bat of where does your time get hijacked most often in your work, and like who is driving that urgency? Is it clinical, operational? Is it a cultural thing? Maybe it's self-imposed. So we'll just take turns. Where is your time getting hijacked most often?
Clinical.
Clinical?
Yes, definitely.
How so?
Um, everyone, I understand all of their issues are important, uh, especially to them because they want their, first come type deal, but they don't understand it's all of their departments, all of their floors, all of the entire hospital going to one facilities department. I can speak from the healthcare side, so everybody coming So, hey, you're the facilities guy. I need this, I need that, I need this. Come check on this, come check on that. And like I said, all of them are priority one, right? Put me before the rest. So just kind of turning those fires out as they come as quickly as possible, because there'll be more for the next day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like you're gonna put out all the fires and then you're done.
Right.
So what do you normally say in those situations to buy yourself more time?
Not necessarily buy myself time. Now that we have Rick and Ricky, that kind of helps out a lot. So it's just kind of put it on a rotation. Okay, you, then me, then you, then me, or me, then you, then you. Just kind of keep that rotation kind of going. It's been very helpful having them guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. There's certain things that I'll pick up and I'll toss a few to Ricky, and then he'll, vice versa. So yeah, that definitely helps. But I agree with V, clinical. They uh they think they are first priority, right?
Okay.
Them and Miguel.
What was that?
Yeah,
Oh, mine is more, I would say, cultural. Just because I'm down here in AB 270, usually if something uh, happens, unexpected, I'm the first person, where everybody comes out of their office. I'm like the first person to grab. So it's like, hey, Miguel, we got an emergency. And then I have to drop what I'm doing to go help. Or, if something comes up, I'll get the call or a call and say, hey, Miguel, can you help me out with this? Which, if I'm not doing, if I'm not tied up, and I'm typically pretty flexible and it doesn't affect me, but the urgent ones do affect me because I could be doing something that has priority, and then I'm asked to go do something else.
Hmm.
Uh,
For me, it's a little bit of both. I agree with V and Rick, but also operational. Uh, because we're kind of the front line between higher management and employees. So uh, employees will call and say, "Hey, can you come up here, get the situation, and maybe you know more. Can you help me?" So we got to run and stop what we're doing to go and assist them. So that part is kind of half and half for me.
Okay.
I will say it's gotten better since we've uh, had leads, join our management team, with Rick and Ricky assisting. That has really helped out.
Does anyone allow their time to get hijacked because um it's self-imposed? Does anyone put maybe unnecessary urgency on responding to someone or something because it's self-imposed? I feel obligated to.
And I
I've
think
tried
that's
to,
another way to look at it,
yeah.
because like I said, just knowing that there's more issues tomorrow, I might do it, just because I know, if I don't get on top of it now, who knows what's behind the next door. We're so fluid. There's always another issue popping up. So some of it could probably wait a little while, but around our hospital, it's a definite that there's something else around the corner. So got to get on it quicker rather than later, just so you don't pile upon yourself and then you're behind the eight ball, right? We just try to kind of stay rolling with it or stay in front of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we don't like to wait for tomorrow, but we kind of run with it today because we know that tomorrow is going to bring other challenges, and then we don't want to be behind the eight ball like Baldy said. So I agree with him.
Yeah. Ruben, Mohammed, Joe, do you have any thoughts about this?
I'm not having any time issues.
Well,
I don't know that the phrase unnecessary urgency exists around here. 'Cause if it gets to you and you try to politely put them in line in a pecking order, it gets escalated above you, and you end up acting in an even more urgent fashion than what you would have to begin with.
Do you have an example of that?
Oh yeah, uh, the we have a set of microscopes over at the one of our buildings, and the problem they were having, they kept saying that our chill water was getting at a too high temperature and causing their microscopes to trip off. And uh, it wasn't the case. Went over and explained how the chillers and the and our chill water interact, and thought it was handled. Walked away, and the email started flying. So you end up explaining yourself or explaining the situation more than once. Uh, it, there's a there may be a pecking order, but it's not necessarily followed. Things get escalated past us.
Does that happen you think pretty quickly? Like if something doesn't go unanswered, like within a shift?
I think it probably happens more to Bowdy and his crew than it does to me and Muhammad.
Okay.
But it just depends on the customers. They always feel like that no matter what's going on in their world, that's the most important problem in the hospital is what's right there in front of them. And that's how they expect it to be treated as such. And when you can't, when you have something else that's pressing for time, and you can't just quit what you're doing and go and help them, I think it gets pushed up past managers or lead techs or even ADs at that point.
Okay.
I think it might also been a cultural thing, because our leadership before Salem, I can say, was very responsive to those type of emails that went above us and said, "Hey, I asked this guy to do something. They're not coming. I need to escalate it." So then they come down. Previous directors and have typically bid on, as soon as they said something, they're like, "Okay, I'll make sure I'll take care of it," right? So it kind of developed a culture of all they have to do is go above us, and then they know we're coming, running right afterwards. It's been
That's
a lot better since Salem has taken the reins,
yeah.
in my opinion.
The culture thing is tough. I once had a boss who created a lot of conflict in the org chart. So between like my boss and then just like my peers too, because he created a culture to like press send. So he would send out an email, and it was like so inefficient. He would send out an email of a question. He like wanted a document. He wanted like an answer to like a code thing. He was like, "Hey, can someone follow up on this?" Whatever it was. And he would send it to like 10 people. Some of them are on the same level. Some of them like did like maybe were on like the outer edge of what was going on or didn't even know about it. And some of them were like right in front of it and the most qualified. And then he might like copy, people on a level above them and then maybe on his peer. And you're like, am I like, is this for my information? But then the assumption was that there was a race to press send. And there would be multiple people working on a response to his request. And he was a CEO. Like there was like he's like the top person. So everyone's trying to like, accommodate the CEO. But it created so much conflict and a lot of inefficiency. But that was the culture he created of like, we're in a hurry culture. Like everything has to be done with like the greatest sense of urgency. Everything is important. And it took a long time to like undo what I felt was like unnecessary, like duplicative work and unnecessary stress. Um, and what I realized is that I had a lot of my habits built from that time working under him that so they start to become self-imposed. And what's interesting, I think, is that especially if you're someone who has high achiever in your strengths and high responsibility, you probably are rewarded for getting things done and probably quickly. You're probably rewarded for your sense of urgency. Like everything's handled and it's handled quickly and people feel like they're taken care of. And you take psychological ownership of what you say you're going to do. And so you're praised for that. And when you're praised for that or rewarded for that, you do more of it, right? And then you sort of like end up in this space where like you don't know how to get out of it. Like everyone now expects you to be on it all the time because that's what you've given them. And there's like no room to not respond to an email within an hour. Like, why haven't you called me back? Or like, you know, um, where was this report? I asked for it this morning. Because you probably got recognized for like getting those things done quickly and doing them well. And for me, it took a long time to undo some of those habits. And I love this analogy. Has anyone heard of you've got glass, rubber, and wood balls? Has anyone heard of that analogy before? I love it. Okay, so like in any day, you're juggling all these things. And some of those balls that you're juggling are glass, and some of them are rubber, and some of them are wood. And the key is like you can't stop. Like you're probably going to get more and more balls like in the mix and you're constantly juggling them. Don't drop the glass balls. Those you cannot drop. You drop a rubber ball, it's going to bounce back. Like it's fine. And then the wood balls, you could probably drop them and they might get like a little scuffed up, but you could probably leave them on the ground. Like they're not going to bounce back and that might be fine. You've got to like go choose to like go and pick it up. And the key is to know which of the balls that you're juggling at any time are the glass balls. And you've got to be okay with letting go of definitely the wood ones and the rubber ones, knowing that they're going to bounce back anyway. And it took me a long time. And I think I'm still kind of undoing some of that, like this hurry culture that was set earlier in my career, so that I'm not imposing that on, my team. Like I don't want to pass down like this feeling of you have to get everything is important and everything has to get done immediately, because that will burn people out really, really quickly. Does anyone have any other thoughts about this?
I think it makes great sense. But I think a lot of us here are just so used to it. Like
Yeah.
it's just second nature now. Um, and then dealing with other departments who do kind of like you're saying, who kind of pick and choose and kind of have a priority list. To us, that's so annoying because then when we need something and they're kind of slow rolling the process and we're so used to making it happen, it becomes, kind of that, what do you guys even do type
Yeah.
mentality. And then obviously you don't want my team to ever have that sort of, someone else to look at my team that way saying, what do you guys even do? Like, you guys are picking and choosing what you want. So like I said, I mean, I think it's part of a culture we got put into. And I mean, I mean, I'm part of, I guess I'm part of that because it's in me now. And I can't see a way that I would stop doing that, right? If I could say, well, I'm going to slow some things down, I just don't see myself doing it.
Mm.
I think our IT department has mastered.
They have definitely mastered it.
And here's for anything new, like we've been trying to get a new work order system implemented, and it's taken over a year because they simply just said, hey, we don't have a project manager to implement that software. And so we've had to wait. But, I put in a request for IT drops and they got right on it. So obviously they're doing something right. I mean, we may not agree with the way they handle everything, but they definitely are able to, if your computer is down, they will get it up, fast. But I guess that's a good example of uh, what happens. Our take on IS is that they're slow. I mean, that's just, if you ask anyone, that's what they're going to say. But
Yeah, I
They might
think
just be doing other work that people don't know
yeah,
about.
yeah,
They have their
I
glass
think
walls.
I think in our department we don't have that luxury. They expect us to do everything yesterday, so we don't have that luxury. And we've like V said about the culture, it was instilled in us from a long time ago, and it's hard to get away from it because everybody expects facilities to get things done when they want them. So unfortunately, that's the way it's been.
It will take time, and you've got to have backing from leadership too, because they've got to be the ones that sort of protect you and shield you and become, the gatekeepers of those unnecessary pressures to get something done, and sort of educate the other departments of, everything is important. We work in a children's hospital. Like that's given. And some things just are more impactful than others because they're tied to risk or safety or some other issue. And if we're not diligent about prioritizing what's most important, um, I'd hate for something that truly is important, to have to get dropped or missed. But I hear you. Like I have been in that culture. I have been that person. I'm recovering um rushaholic. Like I get it. I get it. It takes time, and I know that it takes leadership really supporting you and being able to speak on your behalf about how you're utilizing your time.
I will say from that aspect, it has gotten better.
That's great.
I agree.
That's great. Yeah, so I think it's also important, we've all got the same amount of time in the day, and that's, you sort of like wake up every day and you're like, I've got, like, there's no more. There's no like maximizing my time. You can optimize your time, but you're not going to get more. Um, and so like how do you decide how to use it? And if people are continuing to take your time, you start to like really lose control. Um, these these principles come from Essentialism. It's a book. At the end of this slide deck, there's more about it. I really enjoyed listening to Essentialism because it did talk about optimizing time. And it had me think about how I'm spending my time differently, especially as a recovering rushaholic. Um, and I think this is probably the most significant thing, or sorry, one of the most significant things is saying yes to one thing means saying no to something else. And so evaluating, like I'm constantly making trade-offs. Like us being together right now, all of us have a stack of things that are waiting for us when we're done, that we could be using our time, but we have said no to doing those things so we could be here. And that's literally any way that you spend your time is like by saying yes to something, you are saying no to something else. And that's how priorities are made, right? It's how you show your priorities by how you're spending your time. The idea of essentialism is to really focus on impact and being okay with saying no to everything else during those trade-offs. Um, of what you can control, because I also understand there's a huge part of your job that you can't control and that you have competing priorities and bids for your attention. But at the end of the day, what we can take control over, we should. And the way that we should do that is by asking ourselves, is this the most important thing that I could be doing right now? Is this the most important thing? Like the next thing should always be like the most important thing, and being okay with saying no to everything else while you're doing that. And then what we can turn into routine and rituals, we should definitely do that. I think habit stacking is really powerful. like, I mean, even if you think about like your like bedtime routine, like your morning routine, you start to stack habits, and that's how we build habits. So like, every day coming in, I'm probably gonna check my emails. Um, and then I'm probably going to go check on a few people to see how they're doing. And then I'm going to look at my list and decide like what's the most impactful thing that I can get done. And I might, jump on a few responses right away because those are very time sensitive. Those are truly time sensitive. And so I kind of like, set those habits every day, and those just become like part of the routine and second nature. So I'm not having to think about them, because the more time that you're spending thinking about like, oh no, what should I be doing next? Or like, what do I got going on? Or like, getting distracted by email, that is chipping away at the minutes, that you have in the day. So routines, I think, are really, really powerful in optimizing the time that you have. Does anyone have routines that sort of like help them manage their time throughout the day?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Can you want to share?
I I get in around early in the morning and I kind of focus on seeing the alerts and the alarms and the schedule for the day before I go into shift change with everybody. And then after shift change, I kind of see a list of tasks that we need to complete today, check my calendar, prioritize, and then talk to specific techs or even leadership about what we need to prioritize for the day. So that helps me a lot organizing my day.
Yeah. So you sort of like look at everything that's going on, look at what's most urgent, and then check in with the team to see like what's needed so you can organize the rest of your day. Does anyone
Yeah,
else do? Oh, sorry.
sorry, I was saying, and there's always going to be like, as organized as I want my day, I definitely expect some urgency or critical issues to come up during the day to take away from, the scheduled
Yeah.
programming for the day. So I schedule urgency in there too.
Okay. Has that been effective for you?
Yes, it has been.
Okay, cool. Does anyone do anything similar to that or have a
I
different
do.
approach? You do?
I do. The only difference is I get breakfast first thing in the morning. When I when I come in early every day, and I get my breakfast, and then I start looking at my emails, looking at shift change reports from the previous shifts, and just to get the information, uh, get it all ready, and be prepared for the meeting that we have every morning. So
Okay.
that kind of gets me through the day, and I'm prepared for the day.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of similar to that too, but I kind of start as soon as I wake up. First thing I do is start checking emails, going through the shifts from the day before. Because I have a pretty long, far drive, so then I have plenty of mental ideas going on for how to attack the day. And as soon as I get in, he's always there. So I first thing I do is any updates, what do we need? Then I'll just kind of write everything down and go to our meetings, and that's how we proceed there from there.
That's awesome.
That
Yeah,
is
I
my
was going to
day.
ask that. Does anybody use the time before work to get ready for work? And if you have a long commute, are you like calling people, or maybe
Yeah,
you're even
yeah.
scheduling a meeting sometimes during that time where you can just, listen in
Yeah, I'm definitely texting, calling people in my driving to getting stuff
safely?
all ready. Of course.
Yeah.
Hands free. Everything's
Yes.
hands free.
Mhm.
Yes.
He drives a Tesla. Just kidding.
I wish. Take some good naps on the way home.
So for me, I try to do reports in the morning,
Okay.
meetings in the middle of the day, and then after 2 o'clock, when I'm like, basically like out of gas, that's when I prep for the next day. So from 2:45 to 3 o'clock, it's prepping for the next day.
Yeah.
Um, it seems to work for me. I mean, it's really lowered my stress level. In the morning, I do have a long commute, but lucky to have a good team that communicates very well. So I guess, it was about 6 months ago, we created this group text for fire protection. And so, although I'm not in fire protection, I still kind of um, am involved in it. So we created a group text, and the first thing we get in the morning is all the updates on the fire alarm status. So those usually start rolling in, at 5:30 to 6:30. Um, Rick is on it, so he chimes in if he needs to do anything, and so we do pregame before we actually get to work, and it really does help.
Yeah.
And it's a simple text. It doesn't take much time. It's just
Yeah,
read the email, simple text, boom, you're done. Next one.
Are any of you familiar with Notebook LM
Mhm.
or Speechify? Okay. It's one of the AI tools that I really like, both of them, is you can take like a physical copy of a book, you can scan it in, you can take PDFs. So this could be policies, it could be emails. And basically you batch in whatever document. And so it's kind of like ChatGPT and sort of like you can upload documents or whatever into like this space. But Notebook LM, what you can do is you take only what you've given it. So whatever book, emails, policies, reports, and you turn it into a podcast. So you could do this like before like a commute at the end of your day, maybe going home. If there's stuff that like you've got to read and like kind of be like debriefed on, but you just haven't had the time to do it, you could upload whatever documents into like a Notebook LM. It'll convert it into speech, and then you can just listen to it on your way home. And so like you've now captured, first of all, like especially if you're an auditory processor, like that saves so much time from like reading it and having to like reread it because you can just like, okay, what did they say again? What was that? And it's like entertaining too because it's two voices, maybe sometimes one. Like you can have like Snoop Dogg narrate to you, like you can pick your person. But like the standard is like just two people talking to each other like on a podcast. And it sounds so real and conversational that it keeps you engaged, but it's like talking about all the technical stuff that only like you've given it. So I think that's just like a really great hack if you like to listen, and you've got like a bunch of dead space where you're like, I wish I could be using this space for something, this time for something. That would be like a really good hack for you to look into.
It'd be nice for our ship brief reports.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it Notebook LM?
Notebook LM, yeah, or Speechify,
The second one was Speechified.
yeah. My husband is in law school right now, and while he's working full-time job, he's time hacking. But he does this with like all of his assignments. He'll be like over the weekend, they'll be like read 100 pages from a law book, and some of it's like last semester it was like on property law from like the 1800s, and he was like, "There's no way." So he found Speechify and he's used a Notebook LM, and so he'll like during his workout, um, whatever time he's in the gym, he'll just like go listen to that while he's in the gym. So he's doing like two things at one time, and he's able to do that. Otherwise, he would never be able to get it all done. Which brings me to this point about multitasking. The only way that you can like actually multitask is if you have something that is like demanding, um, like low, it has like low cognitive demand, meaning it is so like ritualistic to you that you don't even have to think about it. So like being in the gym, driving home. I mean, I'm sure you've been in a situation driving and you're like, whoa, where like how did I get you like at work all of a sudden? You're like, I didn't even wasn't even paying attention, to my commute. So things that are sort of like autopilot, then you could probably like layer in another task that has a low cognitive demand, like listening to music, listening to a podcast, an audiobook, whatever, Notebook LM. Um, Otherwise, you're just task switching. You're just dividing your cognitive load between different tasks. it's very tempting to multitask. But like and we think sometimes we're multitasking, but we're just like doing one thing and switching over here and then like doing this other thing. And we're not really like doing anything well. And then it can actually show like a reduction in performance. So if you're going to multitask, do it when you can do something on autopilot and layer something else in, or just don't do it. Just do one thing at a time. And this is especially true for men. Um, so our like female and male brains are wired a little bit differently, and anyone who's been married sort of like knows this. Uh, so women, we tend to like have like the spaghetti brain system where we're thinking about so many things all at the same time, and we're having like we can switch between conversations like this. Like we're just switching. Oh, by the way, that this other thing and that's over here. And yesterday I heard something. Oh, and like next week we got to make sure that we do this one thing. Men, it's like you're in boxes, right? Like you take the box off the shelf, you open the box, put the box back in like on the shelf, and you tend to like optimize your thinking in that way of like I'm going to think about this one thing and focus on this one thing. Where when you start to try and like switch and have multiple boxes open, it just feels like that can shut you down very quickly, and you start to like lose concentration. So, really, the idea is that you're single tasking. And whatever, like, especially when it comes to like deep thinking or concentration, like your short-term memory has like limited, bandwidth, limited capacity. And so anything that definitely requires like mental vigilance, critical thinking, like more concentration, definitely don't try to multitask during that. Just make sure that you're single tasking. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself like losing efficiency as you try to stop and start that way of thinking or that task. Has anyone experienced this before where they've tried to multitask and it's been a disaster?
Yes.
Sure, I have. Yeah.
Or are you tempted to multitask at work?
I do it a lot. Just sometimes, like you said, it just resonated with me because sometimes when I'm doing too much or something I feel is, I guess, more important, everything will be going on, but I'll just drown it out and I'll still be paying attention to the one.
Mhm.
But somewhat there, just giving kind of vague answers or just like, okay, yeah, yeah, that's next type
Yeah.
energy. Yeah.
I've definitely earned myself like double work because I've like multitasked but tuned out one of the tasks and I have to go back and just single task.
hmm hmm Yeah, I've been there too. Especially, and you notice that a lot. I'm glad you brought up the meeting. I noticed that too in meetings where like, yeah, like we're like physically there, but there are zombies in the meeting where like your brain is not here. Like your person is here, but like your brain is not here. And then you end up having to repeat or ask the same questions or like rehash topics. Like we were just talking about this. And it's like, oh, my brain was, somewhere else. Sunk cost fallacy. I think this is a really powerful tool. It's also really uncomfortable. And I think if you're in a culture where you have a hurry culture and that high sense of urgency and it's developed over time, this this is kind of how you begin to change that. Um, and the way that you do it is if you've been doing something the same way forever, um, there's probably an emotional attachment to that because there are people who kind of came up with that system or bought into that system and they feel like that's our system, like that's part of our culture. There's an emotional attachment to it. And there's also this sense of like history and like honoring that history, and there's also a fear of change. But sunk cost fallacy or bias is when you continue to invest into something rather than consider like better outcomes for the future. And one way to think about that is if we were starting over today, would we do it this way now? And if the answer is no, then you can sort of invite the conversation. Yeah, if we were going to go about this the same way, would we still do it the same way? Or would we like think about it differently or go about it a different way? given that we've now have different maybe time and resources available to us. It was like, no, I think we probably would do it like a different way, or we would definitely do it a different way, or we wouldn't even do this at all. Then you can start to open up the conversation about like, well, what would we do then, or like, what would that look like, or what would be like the preferred option or alternative options to think about. And that sort of like gives you permission to stop doing the thing that you know you shouldn't be doing, to sort of like break the system. Um, I think this resonates a lot with a job. Like people get stuck in a job for a long time and they don't know what to do. Like, well, this has been my job for like 10 years now. So like, I guess I'm stuck. It's like, well, would you still apply for this job now, knowing what it is? And if the answer is no, then it's like, well, what would I do? What would be different? I'm not suggesting that any of you are dissatisfied with your job, but you're here, so you're making an investment in it. But that's sort of like a way to think about it of like, would we continue doing this if we know what we know now? And people get emotional about that because you have to admit that maybe you wasted some time and there's also a sense of loss. Like there's this history and maybe some artifacts from that history and memories, and we get attached to it. We sort of have to like lose that thing to go into like this new unknown. So a couple of examples of that would be like if you continue to invest into like an old system, a lot of breakdowns, high maintenance cost. You're just like sinking. It's like a lemon at this point. You're just like throwing money at it, knowing that like you could probably buy a new one and it wouldn't cost as much money. Have any of you seen this before? You continue to throw money at a system that's like just build a new one. And so yeah, yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would say, yeah, keep up putting bandages on
hmm
Probably.
That's exactly what this is that sunk cost fallacy of like, we'll just keep investing in it, thinking that like the short term, it's not going to cost as much now compared to like an overhaul or a big capital investment. But ultimately, like you're losing efficiency, you're losing money, you're like throwing labor and parts at it. That's sunk cost fallacy. Or if you've got like a maintenance program and you've been doing it the same way forever and you haven't stopped and sort of like taken a step back and reevaluated of like, should we be doing it this way? Or are there now new alternatives, technologies, methodologies out there that we should consider? And it's just like, okay, like allowing ourselves to take like a timeout. We've been doing it this way for years and it's maybe it's working, but could we do it better? Is there another way? So the way that you can start to overcome some of these sunk cost fallacy is to actually set like milestones to review some of your processes, or just like the way that you're going about things. So if you have a culture where um, triage is mandated by the requester and not the doer. So the whoever's requesting the work, they now get to triage your workload. Well, why is that? Because they only have like one viewpoint of like what you have on your plate. So who's to say that they have like the most knowledge or authority to tell you how to manage your time? Or is it that can you be trusted to take in all of the inputs from all the requesters? And now we've got a systematic way that we can triage where everyone can buy into. And that makes sense knowing that everyone ultimately wants to support the mission of the organization. And if we can all agree that everyone's just ultimately trying to support the mission of the organization, then could we now shift the decision making and how we're prioritizing work in a more systematic way that adds, transparency? And it could be, and this, by the way, this could be like anything, any process that you're currently doing, or yeah, just really, really anything, any sort of time investment or cost investment. If you know that you would do it differently today, knowing what you know now, then you can have a conversation about, what those alternatives would look like. You can also check in at milestones. So maybe like you started off on a project or an initiative, and at the time, it sounded like it was the best idea like this is the winner right here. And then you get into it, and then you sort of like uncover challenges along the way, and you just learn more, right? Like the further you go in the process, that you're collecting data along the way, and now you're better informed. Um, we'll have a milestone of like when we get to this point, like why don't we check in and see if we're still like as enthusiastic about it as we were, 3 months ago. And they continue to set those milestones that as a group you're continuing talking about like, is this working and what should we continue to go down this path? And then giving yourselves permission to change your mind at any point. I think that's huge for our culture is like we we agree that we're going to make decisions as quickly as we can with the best we can with the information that we have. And as we continue to collect more information, we have the right to change our mind for the sake of improvement. And I think debriefs are important too. Like when you get to the end and you're like, what would we have done differently? Making sure that you're actually having that conversation and documenting it. So the next time you go up into something similar, you can sort of like look back on your reflections and be like, okay, yeah, that meeting's done and we all want to forget about it and it's over, but we also don't want to carry bad habits forward into the next one. So, with all of that in mind, can you think of an activity you can do, either you personally or someone on your team continues to do that has like low value or doesn't add meaningful value? You don't have to use names. We can
Well,
protect the innocent.
one thing I've stopped doing is I used to send out, I was asked to send out updates on permits um, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I think it happened because somebody forgot to approve a permit. So I was doing that Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays every week. And then uh, I stopped doing it because there's no, I mean, everybody knows to check permits. And I do check them, but I don't send out the reminders because I think everybody's taking accountability on and knows what they're responsible for approving. So, I mean, I just stopped doing it and nobody's missed it. So I think I already stopped.
That's a great example. Sounds like a bad thing happened and there was a reaction to it, and that became like the new standard without checking in of like, is this, and eventually you ask the question of like, is this still needed? Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
We used to have on our shift change, we used to have a conference call dial in. There was more of a leadership higher than us leadership. It really just became a listening in and critiquing everything that we were doing. Um, so we went to one big meeting instead of two different meetings because COVID and all that stuff. People started going two separate meetings. We'd call into this conference call, and then I guess leadership used that to then start just listening in. So once we got everybody back in one room, leadership continued to have us call this number. Then I finally just stopped calling. I mean, we just started taking care of our own business, and slowly they got, it was more of a headache than it was worth. We had shift change reports, we had briefs, we had, information going around and around, but it was just, ended up not adding any value. It was more of a headache, if anything. Well, so and so said this, but he didn't say this, and so did that, but he didn't, it, it, it was horrible. It gave us more problems than any solutions.
Another great example. I was thinking too, like how many meetings do you go to that you probably shouldn't go to?
Yeah.
And then like what would happen if you just stopped?
Yeah. Everything will still keep going for sure.
That's probably the best way to identify some of this is, can you think of anything, like if you were just to stop doing it, those wooden, the wooden balls, if you just dropped one of those things, what would happen? And if things would more or less continue to move forward, then that might be a candidate to consider to stop doing it. So then I think maybe the next time you sort of have that realization of like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? No one's gonna look at this anyway. No one's even reading this. That might be a good candidate to like drop that wooden ball and just, see what happens. And you know what? You can always, depending, I mean, again, leadership I think makes a big difference too, right? Um, so, maybe there's some things that you have to talk about with leadership before you just stop doing it or stop going because you don't want to come across as, disrespectful or, um, you still want to be a professional. But I think it's totally fair of, hey, like we have really important work to do, and I think I can use this time to do something like more meaningful than this. I think that's a conversation that most people would respect, you presenting to them.
I think that in our organization, there were a lot of blurred lines. So not everybody had a lane to swim in. Let's just call it that. And so all the lines were blurred. And what I've noticed in the last 6 months or so, um, is those lines have started becoming more defined, and that
Hmm.
has really helped in everybody knowing what they're responsible for. And so a lot of those things that we were doing before, we don't have to really do anymore because everybody knows what they're responsible for. And then the reports obviously help, um, that they've implemented, like the shift change reports. Those just get emailed, and then whoever wants to review them can review them. If there's something that you're specifically looking for, you can just look in the report, and it's usually there. So that avoids all the additional meetings or Teams calls that we were doing before.
Yeah. That's I'm glad you brought that up. I think having clear lines of responsibility is huge because it's like I know exactly what my job is here and that someone else is taking care of this other thing. Because there's so many times where I've been doing work that someone else is doing because we're both just trying to be helpful and get the work done. And it's like having those clear like delineation of like I've got this or I've got this, that that's a game changer. Like I've bought back so much time from that alone. I wonder if there are any brave souls that will answer this question. If someone reviewed your calendar and inbox, what would they conclude you prioritize?
I think they would see that I prioritize kind of my guys, their growth, just certain things that if they don't have to be a part of it and they can be doing something else, I'll let them. If they have other issues that are more important to them, like just say, like we have one, like Rick's going for his CHFM, and he needs things to study, and he needs time to do certain things. So I'll make it a point to allocate for that to get him the time that he needs and stuff like that, and um, you know, just kind of things like that. Some of the other guys, if they have issues, I'll make sure to give them the time they need to kind of handle their business and be in my inbox at least.
Yeah.
My calendar's all over the place. It doesn't make any sense sometimes, so that would just look like a big mess. Makes sense to me, but to somebody else, it would be like, how did you? It's just stuff.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, my inbox is probably full of invoices. That's That's what most of my inbox. I mean, a lot of conversations back and forth, coordinating, of course. Majority is invoices.
So what I started doing, well, that's new because it was hard to keep up with tasks, and the calendar helps out. Um, but what I started doing was in our weekly managers meeting, I put a column at the very bottom that says what I'm working on, what I've completed, so that whenever I report, to my manager, um, my priorities are right there on the update sheet. And then if I missed anything, they can say, "Hey," because it's usually with V and Stanley, and Salem, and so they can say, "Hey, you know, you need to add this," or "Hey, we're not doing that anymore." So that's really helped me out. But I mean, I try to prioritize, um, stuff that's given to me that needs to be done. But
Yeah, that's cool that you bring that up. We have a similar system in our company. We call it our GSD dashboard, or we're getting stuff done. Um, and so like anytime you can see what everyone has on their list for the week and sort of like their target dates of getting it done. So it's like we all have access to everyone else's to-do list at any given time. It's just a Google sheet. Like it's not, this is like very low tech, but the point is that um we have like all these other project management dashboards, but we typically weren't like drilling in on this other technology because we only care about our own projects. But what we've created is optics to what everyone else is doing. So what that's done is it gives a sense of like when someone else is waiting on you, like that has you can now like actually visualize the impact. And also you can see like the exhaustive list that everyone has and what they're doing, each day. And that's allowed everyone to be more respectful of asks of other people's time. And then at any point, they can see what's on my list and sort of like when I'm planning to do that. So the emails, the follow up of like, hey, are you still working on this? Or like, hey, haven't heard from you. Or like, hey, like those like those little moments that tend to like rob away your time like slowly. I don't see as much of that anymore because they can see like everything I've got on my list. By the way, if it's not on my list, I don't know about it. So like tell me if you think I
yeah,
should be doing something. But it's helped just tremendously just having that visibility of like what everyone is working on, including me, and when we plan on like getting to it.
Yeah.
But my biggest thing is like I always say like we've got to feed. I call it like feeding the family, but like I need to make sure my work has the greatest impact and significance. So we like the Eisenhower matrix, like the typical construct of how we sort of prioritize things is by importance and urgency. And there's a third vector in there of significance. So to me, I measure significance about what's going to have like the greatest impact on the team. So I'm thinking about like how am I going to feed the family in the sense of like how am I going to continue to get them moving and giving them work and making sure that they're productive in like a really meaningful way. That's my priority. And then like I'll figure out all the thing, all of like the Lindsay work of like the things that like only I'm going to see and touch and do. I'll sort of like work that in around when I know people are like waiting on me because, my job as a leader is to be effective and to make sure that I'm creating a significant impact for my team. And like all the selfish, like Lindsay stuff, I'll work that in as I need to. But that's cool that you have visibility on your like this is what I'm working on so people know. I think that's really powerful. Simple but powerful.
yeah.
All right, thank you for sharing all of that. We're gonna take a break as promised. Um, let's meet back at 15 past the hour, and then we'll chat for another 35 or 40 minutes, and we'll wrap up before the next meeting. But yeah, let's meet back in at the 15. All right. 15 after the hour. I'll get back into it. Just like last time, we're not going to cover the entire slide deck, but of course you'll have access to it. Anything that I feel like is like more intuitive, or that you can just learn like by looking through the slides, I'll skip. But there are a couple things that I really wanted to point out because they're just very interesting. And they, again, just trying to introduce things that you may not have been exposed to or heard of before. So, we've all got time management strategies that may or may not work for each other. So some people like time blocking is like highly effective for them. Some people are list people, and some people have like post-its scattered everywhere that they never revisit. So it's just like find the system that works for you. But when you're thinking about time management, one of the really interesting like science-based phenomenons is your chronotype. So I'm sure you've all heard of like you're a morning person, you're like a night owl. Well, there is science actually behind that, and it does affect sort of like your mood and energy levels throughout the day. It's also really important that based on those mood and energy levels, what type of work you're doing throughout the day. So, Miguel, I heard you talk about like in the morning, you're working on reports. So, I would imagine that you are probably a morning person because reports require like more like cognitive load and like analysis. And then, like, as you're like going through like your lull or crashing in the day, that's when you're sort of like planning for the next day. So it's sort of like on autopilot for you, like, and then your meeting times and meeting with people in the middle of the day might be like, um, we may not have as like tight of a mental vigilance as you did in the beginning, but you haven't totally crashed out yet. So it might even provide like a little bit of boost of energy being around, other people. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair to say.
But not everyone's like that. Not everyone, is suited to do analytical work in the morning. That's based on your chronotype. So to determine your chronotype, what you do is on a day where you would not set your alarm, and maybe for some of you, you're going to wake up at the same time with or without an alarm. But on a day where you don't have to set an alarm, the weekend, at what time do you usually go to bed? And what time do you like naturally wake up? And then like what is that midpoint? And if that midpoint is before 3:30, you're probably a morning person, like a lark, early bird person. Um, and so you probably have like a pretty high energy level in the morning that continues to build. There's like a trough in the afternoon, and they sort of have like a slight rebound later. A third bird, their midpoint is between 3:30 and 5:30. So they have like their bounce back period is actually like further in the evening. And then now, and an owl, their midpoint is after 5:30. This is actually the rarest chronotype. And so their midday slump, like their trough point, occurs like later in the afternoon into evening, and then they get a bounce back like late in the evening and at night. In the morning, they're just trying to get it together. So what that means is during times when you have higher energy and mental vigilance, that's when you want to focus on anything that has like more analytical type of thinking, methodical type thinking, anything that's like mathematically related, logic based, or anything that requires like a lot of focus is when like whatever time that is for you. So for some people, it's going to be earlier in the morning. Some people that's going to be sort of like mid to late morning. And so for some people, that's going to be like, later in the day. In a team environment, what this means is that when you're having your meetings with people, like a brainstorming meeting, for example, is usually best like a later in the morning, like 10:30 to noon, because that's usually about the time when the owls are like getting, they're like waking up a little bit. The third birds, which is like the most common chronotype, like they're in their peak energy zone, and the larks still have some energy left. And so they're able to contribute to a meaningful conversation. Whereas if you were to put like a brainstorming meeting like late in the afternoon, you're probably going to get people who are just like, they're like mentally tapped out. They're like, I could probably come up with ideas for you like tomorrow morning, but like right now, like I can't do that. So understanding your chronotype and other people's chronotype helps you kind of like time block your day. It's all going to get done. It's just being able to lean into what's going to give you energy and where you can like maximize your mental vigilance. And that just changes, for different people at different types. Okay, so I guess for each of you, when during your day or week do you tend to make the best decisions, and then how are you protecting that time? Or like, can you even protect that time?
For me, the earlier the better. How I protect the time is just getting a good night's sleep. I tend to, if I sleep, I would say between 9:30 and I'll wake up around 3:30, and then I just fall asleep again for a little bit because it's not time yet. But if I go to sleep at least 7 hours, that's perfect for me. I'm ready to go in the morning, and I'm I'm wound up.
Yeah. Is anyone making their best decisions on Friday afternoon?
Absolutely not.
No.
I'm the same way. I'm early. My best decisions are early as well.
I kind of think of this reverse engineering wise, and I know my slump is like for that 2 to 4, like 3 o'clock every day. I'm like, I'm dying. So I'll try, and I get energy from meeting with people, as long as it's not like a difficult conversation or something. So I try to, if I need to meet with people, I try to pick that afternoon block because if I can make it to that, then that will like help me, and then that leaves the morning time to do like more focused work on my own. So I kind of back into this.
Yeah, those collaborative meetings, not necessarily like a brainstorming meeting or like problem solving meeting, but like a really like true like collaborative type of discussion. Those are great for a lot of people in the afternoon when they're feeling sluggish.
I think
Um,
sorry,
yeah, but
the best day to make a meeting would be Tuesdays because Mondays you're catching up, starting the week, and Tuesdays is the better day with less distractions. And I think it would be best time would be Tuesday morning. I think before lunch would be better, but like right before lunch wouldn't be the best time to make a decision. It would be well before lunch, specifically between 8 to 10 or something.
you brought up food. Yeah, so food, like anytime we eat, like a lot of our energy goes to digesting that food. And so you might notice that you're feeling like sluggish in the afternoon too, because your energy is being used to digest your lunch. That's why people experience like mental clarity during times of fasting, um, because they don't, all of their energy is like going basically into thinking and being productive. So that's another thing too, is like if you're trying to have a difficult conversation or like problem solve or like do like really detailed work after lunch, you're gonna that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be challenging.
And I don't think right before lunch is a bad idea as well because you're thinking about or you're hungry, so you're thinking about food and you're not your body's thinking about food and everything. So that's not a good time either.
Totally agree. That's why I like to have meetings kind of like in that window because everyone's kind of like getting ready for lunch. And I think we offer each other like a distraction if you're engaged in the meeting. It's like a nice distraction and it's not requiring you to like think too critically.
I think as far as like our group, our core group, like Miguel, Rick, well, speaking for myself, Miguel, Rick, Ricky, it's awesome for me that all of them are pretty much the same in like the morning type. So as the day gets started, they're on their A game. So when I come in, I can catch up, and then when I kind of hit the ground running off of their momentum, and then it kind of keeps me through pushing. And then when they're kind of falling, And then that's when, some questions start coming up towards the end of the day. And then I'm more snapped to kind of keep the ball going throughout the end of the day. So I just kind of the way our team works is funny that this came up. It just kind
Yeah.
of made me think of that because they are exactly like that. They're all in running. And then it's taken me a second to kind of catch up what they're doing, get on board. Okay, yeah, okay. Now I got it. Now it's in my head. And towards the end of the day, when things are starting to be put together, that's when I'm at my best and I can answer like the questions that need to,
Yeah.
be answered. So
Yeah.
makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
I kind of feel bad those morning texts to V right back to back to back, back to back, back to back. And he don't answer not one. Like, are you there?
Yeah, I get it. I'm just storing it all. And then when we get there, and usually I'm driving because I do have a long drive in the morning. So
Yeah.
I try to be a responsible driver.
hmm
Of
Good.
course.
Yeah, I think what V piggybacking on V, the core team. I think we're a well-oiled machine. That's the way I see it. So we all have our different times that we're at peak performance, but it works out throughout the day because we all have different peak performances at different days of the different times of the day. So it works out.
Yeah. I think it's just important that you're being strategic about when you're allocating time to specific tasks and strategically scheduling meetings. Like Mohammed, you said on Tuesday. So a lot of people come in on Tuesday and they're just trying to like see what's happened over the weekend, like follow up on things or like get their week going and to be more protective of that time. Some people like to have meetings on Monday specifically because going back to work doesn't feel amazing. And so like getting engaged with other people and sort of like filling up their day like helps it move along a little bit quicker. So that's I think a lot of people will schedule Monday meetings first of all just to like set direction for the team for the week or because Mondays are really tough for some people to get back into that mode and so they want like a way to pass their time. But Tuesdays I think are great for a lot of people because they tend to like get through their Monday and now they're like Tuesday's like the real Monday, right? Like we're actually like now we're working.
I go
You know,
through Saturday and Sunday, so Monday doesn't mean anything really. It's just I don't have to be in the office, but the work is going on Saturday, Sunday, so
Yeah.
that doesn't make a difference for me. I know Rick and Ricky the same because
Yeah.
usually
No.
once it starts, we're all on it, just kind of making sure we're all on the same page and everybody's just touching base. So that's just kind of why it's a little bit different for.
Yeah.
you said that you make better decisions during fasting. Well, I disagree on that.
Oh, really?
For me, so when when my stomach is hungry, I can't. My brain is just nah, it's not there. So that's why I'm an early bird. I eat breakfast religiously 6 in the morning, or even before that. And so by the time 7 o'clock comes around for our first for our shift change, I'm already gassed up, so I'm good to go.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, hunger is real, right? Like when you like this whole Snickers bar, I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. I was talking about extended fasting. So like the fasting that's like more than 3 days, 5 day fast or something like that. Like once you break the whole like ghrelin, hormone chemical angry monster inside of you. Like once you move past that period, then it gets into like mental clarity. But yeah, you don't want to starve yourself out every day.
Not gonna happen.
It's funny
I
because
got a fast metabolism.
it's funny because I notice when like one of us are cranky or something, like for example, me and Miguel, he gets a little cranky. I can make sure to take him a sneaker and it helps. It does help. Like it makes him feel better. And he does it to me too. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'll have a sneaker on my desk. Like, thank you, Miguel.
It makes me smile though.
That's sweet. Watching out for each other.
Yeah, I think we even done it to V a couple times.
There you got me.
Yeah.
So just send him a sneaker. He'll appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, so there are differences between like analytical and inside tasks. So just planning if you can. I know you don't always have like agency of your calendar and your time, but when you can, just be mindful of like, okay, when is the best time for me to like be in that moment, and just and try to plan your day accordingly. There are good like best times to do certain things. So depending on your chronotype. So I talked about analytical tasks. Insight tasks are tasks that require like more creativity. Um, so those are going to happen a little bit later in the day for most people, except for, an owl. Making an impression. So anytime that you want to make like a great impression on someone or just your first impression on someone, mornings is the best time to do that. Just we tend to leave our best impressions in the morning. And then making decisions, for most people is going to be like in the morning, except when you're an owl, when you're like, to make a decision that's late in the afternoon. This comes from one of my favorite books, Win, which is by Daniel Pink. I read this in 2018 and I've read it every year since then. I learn something every single time that I read it. It's the science of timing. And so a lot of it applies to work, but some of it applies to your personal time too. Like there are just good times to do certain things. And also, depending on the time of the day or the time of the year or season, kind of dictates our mood and our decision making. And I find that really interesting. It's like sort of a little like behavior science mixed in with timing. Um, I'll skip some of this. I did want to bring up beginning, middles, and ends. A really interesting thing happens especially in like meetings. I don't know if you've noticed this, or if you like think back on it, but like a meetings that are around like a project or you have like an objective, like you're getting together to make a decision, solve a problem, like it's a working meeting. It's not like a status, kind of meeting or a standing meeting. Um, Usually in the middle of the meeting, you see a difference in productivity. So the first half of the meeting, there's like such radical difference. There's like a low productivity. People are just trying to like get their bearings. There's usually like some chit chat, some side quest happening. And then like in the middle of the meeting, someone's like, okay, like we're halfway through this meeting and we actually haven't done anything. And then like productivity like skyrockets. So you can actually take advantage of that by strategically scheduling milestones if you halfway through a project or initiative or even a task, like a halfway check-in, to sort of like remind people like there is a deadline, we have an objective, and if you're looking to change their productivity in a way that it's sort of like goes up on that upward trajectory, scheduling a midpoint makes a massive difference in like getting people like refocused and re-energized about something. Because that's usually what happens is like when given a deadline, energy and focus like increase tremendously. And I mentioned this last time with presentations, like how you end a presentation is the more important than how you begin. That's usually true on projects and tasks too. Like even if it started off really rocky, people will tend to have a positive impression about that experience if it ends well. So anytime that you have been given a project or some sort of initiative, just like in a presentation, strive to end in a really positive way that makes people feel good about the time they've spent, working together on that project. Beginnings are also super significant. I don't know what it is about like humans, but like starts and like the beginnings are like really impactful for us. This is why we have like New Year's, resolutions of like New Year, tomorrow is going to be like this year's different. Tomorrow is going to be different. So if you're looking to, especially in change management, or you want to like build momentum, if you want some sort of like cultural shift, beginnings are a great way to do that. And it can be like the beginning of the week. I like the beginning of the month. So like March 1st, like that is like our brains, the way that we process that, it's like now significant. Also, like even if you lose momentum, like New Year's resolutions, like it's February. A lot of people are like, what New Year's resolution? Starting again, like mentally, like we can recommit. So like it's in the middle of February, I'm like, okay, yep, my New Year's resolution that didn't last. March 1st. For whatever reason, like we can commit to like a new beginning. And it really, really makes a difference if we actually start again and start together. So like starting again, and then now I've brought someone with me, my chances of success of achieving whatever my desired outcome was increases by starting again and starting together. Yeah, so you can always expect a slump at the midpoint. So you strategically in your day, in the week, like a hump day, like checking in, sort of like re-energizing people. Team meetings on Wednesdays or whatever your midpoint is, also really great to get people like re-energized. And there's a significance to, like I talked, the Wednesday effect, getting people like re-energized. We call these temporal landmarks. So whatever like midpoints in our life, any amount of time, like midpoints are really significant to us. And so like lean into that, like use those to like rally people and get them re-energized about whatever you're doing. Um, And the reason why it's also important to determine when you make decisions at your best is because decision fatigue is real. And we think that we might be making good decisions, but the quality of our decision making actually can decrease when we're feeling hungry, when we're feeling tired, or stressed. If you are forced to make a decision, um, this also comes in later, but breaks are really, really important. Um, So in when Daniel Pink talks about the sad American desk lunch, which I've been guilty of more times than I care to admit. So that is the really disgusting habit of like bringing in your lunch and sort of like hunched over your desk or your computer and like you're eating and you're like making your way through an email and you're sort of like forcing yourself through it because like we don't have time to take lunch. Is what we tell ourselves. Like I don't have time to take like a proper lunch. Science shows that you will have improved mental vigilance and your ability to focus will actually increase significantly if you can do a couple of things. Remove yourself from your workspace. So, like, actually go take lunch. Go be social with like, call a friend. If you can actually, like, take lunch with someone and talk about, like, non-work stuff, awesome. And sort of like the peak is if you can actually get outside and do some like laps around the med center, like actually being outside, like in the heat and the humidity of Houston, Texas, and just sort of like endure it just for like 20 minutes. Being outside, and especially in the sun, and like moving your body, and then take 20 minutes to do that, and then get back to work, your mood will shift. You'll feel better. You'll be able to focus better, and your productivity will increase more so than if you just sort of like grunt through it during lunch and just like eat lunch and like power through your day. You'll feel better and you'll feel better about your work and you'll be more alert. Um, a couple of time management strategies. We can skip this, like, but I'm curious, are you participating in time blocking, task lists, mapping, Eisenhower matrix, Pomodoro? What type of time management strategies are you using now?
I do the list.
The list. You're a list person.
Blocking and task list. Yeah.
Task list. List. Lots of lists. Yeah, that dopamine.
Yeah.
Check. Who here has completed a task and they'll add it to their list so they can cross it off?
That's me.
Yeah. And it makes a difference. It really does. We're like, would I even do anything today? Yeah, task lists are highly effective for some people, but not everybody is a list maker. Let's see. So one thing that I find to be really effective is actually time blocking for a lot of people. I heard you, like you can't always plan your day and you don't always have agency over your calendar. But especially in the mornings when I know that my mental vigilance is higher, I can focus better. I'm very protective over that time. There are many times when I go into work early, like before anyone else gets there, because that time, like an hour, because that time is so precious just to be able to like focus on what I need to get done. Or anytime that I had the ability to like work from home, I knew that time was really precious because I didn't have all those, distractions that just occur in the workplace. But time blocking like on your calendar, and I've done this for an entire day, like on a Thursday where I knew that like I haven't had people have taken my time all week long, um, for good reason. I've allowed them to do that for good reason, but like I haven't been able to get to like the Lindsay work. So like I'll block off a day where I have fewer meetings and I'm like on my like it looks like a big meeting on my calendar. And like that's time that I've protected for myself before anybody else could grab time, for me to focus on what I need to do on that specific project. You can also have like office hours too. I've seen some people do this where they'll block off their time, but it's for like, hey, my door is open specifically during this period. If you have like anything I can help you with, like you don't need to schedule a meeting with me. Like this is my like open time. I've seen people time block on their calendar where they'll put like brackets around it, and the brackets mean like I'm trying to use this block of time to focus, but you can interrupt me if you really need to. So it's sort of like a visual indicator that you can see on their calendar. But I find this to be really, really powerful. Has anyone done time blocking specifically on their calendar?
Yeah, I block my 11 to 1 o'clock. It just says future planning on mine, but just so no one comes in and robs it. And then that's just kind of study time. And like you said, that's when I feel I'm at my sharpest, so I can get the most done if, if I'm there sitting at my desk.
Yeah, good for
Didn't know that
you.
was an option.
Yeah.
I,
I
I,
already blocked
They're like,
I've,
you can do that?
that.
I've done that before. When I was getting really, really busy, like getting bombarded. But since it's kind of subsided, because of all the great, guys we have on our team, I don't really tend to do that as much as I used to.
Okay. Another one that I really like are the 5 second rule and the 5 minute rule. There have been days, like I'll be honest with you, where I have felt just completely overwhelmed. Like I don't even want to like look at my list or think about it because I feel like I can't even do like one thing, and I can just see the list growing, and like my chest is getting tight, like I can like feel my head starting to like wander off into like, this zone of worry and anxiety. And one thing that's been really effective for me is if I'm starting to get into that headspace of like these unknown future and I have too much to do and I'm feeling overwhelmed, is like I'm so close, I'm like hyper focused on that feeling. So I just know if I just take a step back, literally like even I'll move my body, that helps too. Just like sitting up, like move around and just like counting back from five. Um, Action and movement help a lot. And then sort of like I get that out of the way, I sit back down and it's like a new start almost of like now I can focus on like this one thing and just like that's what I tell myself, like just do one thing. Just do one thing and then like everything else is over here, but just like do one thing. So the 5 second rule I feel with movement is super powerful. Another one that I really try to hold myself to is there are tasks that'll sit on my list and I won't do them. And then I get to them and it's like, that did not take very long. Like that did not take as long as I thought it was going to. Yeah, I see some head shakes. That's the 5 minute rule. If you can get it done in 5 minutes, just do it. My kind of like exception to that sometimes is I'll time block for email. So rather than just like continuously like responding to email all day throughout the day, like I'm only going to respond to email first thing in the morning, like around lunch, and like sometime toward the end of the day. Otherwise, I could just be like answering emails all day and do nothing else. So that's kind of like the exception to that, unless I see something really urgent, time sensitive come in. But if I can do something in five, like literally in 5 minutes or less, I just do it. Otherwise, you'll end up like stacking these 5 minute tasks and like never actually getting to them. And then that overwhelmed feeling for me starts to creep in. And also is a good dopamine thing. So for you list people to do like a 5 minute thing, get off your list, you're like crushing it, getting so much done today. Um, so I talked about this before, like the Eisenhower matrix. I challenge the Eisenhower matrix in that third vector of impact and significant. Your priority should be, to the extent you can, your priority should always be the most important thing. Like, is this the most important thing that I should be working on? Is this the most significant, impactful thing that I could be doing right now? Um, I wanted to show you, oh, mapping. Um, so I think this is great for technicians too. Um, there's a couple things here. I find that people are terrible at estimating how long, most people are terrible at estimating how long it takes them to do something. And when you ask them how long is this going to take, they're like, it's almost like deer in the headlights. Um, so you can actually break, I think the best way to estimate how long you're going to do something if you don't have historical data is to break it down from the macro to like as granular as possible. Like, what are all of the subtasks that it requires to do that thing? And it's much easier to assign time to a smaller task than to like a really big one. It's also with mapping, you've got a whole list of things throughout your day and like, how am I going to get this done? You can think physically, like, what are the footsteps I have to take to do this? And sort of like work your way from the furthest location forward. And you think about like, who do I need to talk to? What tools do I need? Like, where can I stop along the way to check on so and so or whatever? And sort of like mentally like plan out your day of like, from furthest location to closest, what can I do along the way to like optimize my time? And when you're asked to like estimate time or think about how long it's going to do something, breaking it down to like as granular as possible. I've done that with my team when, I ask the question, I'm like, how long is this going to take? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, you've done this before? Like, how do you not know? But people are just terrible at estimating their time. So if you get them in the habit of like, well, let's think about it. Like, what do you actually have to do? Like, what are the steps? Okay. All right. We got those 4 steps about how long is it going to take you to do each one. All right. That sounds like a couple hours of work. And then it goes from like, I have so much to do. It's going to take all of this time to be like, well, actually, it's going to take you like, 2 hours, 4 hours, whatever. And it tends to take off that anxiety too. Um, so mapping, I think mapping's really powerful. Are there any others that you use that we didn't talk about? Okay. Um, oh, something in the chat? No? Okay. I'm going to talk about one last concept before we end. I mentioned breaks, and I call those vigilance breaks. So vigilance is your mental vigilance, like getting your mind really sharp in a space where it can be productive. You don't want to like work off of a tired, distracted brain. It turns out that our attention span is like 10 to 20 minutes for most people. Some people like even shorter than that. I find when I'm using like this Pomodoro method, it says 25 minutes. I find my time is closer to 40 minutes. So it's probably going to be different person to person. But what I do is I'm like, okay, for 40 minutes, I'm gonna single task, right? I'm gonna be like in it, and then like wherever I am in like 40 minutes ish, I'm gonna take a break, 5 minutes, get coffee, go get some water, look at the sun, like go get outside, um, and and just take 5 minutes, and then I go back, and then I've got like another 40 minutes, and it feels like my batteries have been charged. Whereas if I would have gone 60 minutes or like 80 minutes, my productivity after that 40-minute mark would start to decline. So I'm basically like giving myself a chance to like recharge my batteries after like a really productive period and then taking a step back. And then you sort of like do a series of those before you take a longer break, which is like your lunch break. So yeah, you just set a timer, um, take a break, and you'll find that you come back and you just have like more energy and you can be more productive. So yeah, you can stretch, walk, relax, get some water, whatever you need to do, just like force yourself to like get up and do that. Um, see what else.
Do some yoga.
Yeah, desk yoga. Listen, stretching's good for you. I don't know if you've heard. And then I think, yeah, Miguel, you mentioned this, but end of day recovery makes a big difference too, especially at the end of the day when you're sort of like not in a really like highly productive state. It still gives you something meaningful to do. So just preparing for your next day, and that way you're not spending that time when you probably have like more mental clarity in the morning, sort of like getting organized. You've already like done the work the day before, so you can just like launch into it first thing. That I think that makes a big difference. Otherwise, you're wasting the first, 30 minutes or more trying to like get organized. Okay. So I wanted to show you just a couple. Oh, this one's true too. Parkinson's law. Are you guys familiar with Parkinson's law? It's the idea of like the work will expand to the time given. So if you schedule a meeting for an hour, it will take an hour. If you schedule a meeting for 20 minutes, it will take 20 minutes. So if you give people however much time you give them, they're going to take at least that much time. So one thing to try and like stretch people is to give them tighter deadlines or force them to commit to a deadline by going through that whole like milestone process. Um, and then maybe like deducting that by 20%, not because you're unreasonable and cruel, because you understand Parkinson's law and people will take up as much time as they're given. I mean, think about it. Anytime you've been given like a deadline, and you've got like 2 weeks to do it, do you spend those 2 weeks doing it? No, you wait until like the day of or the day before to actually like do the thing, right? So if there was like, if you had a day to do it, you would still get it done in a day, probably. If you have 2 weeks to do it, you're probably going to take the whole 2 weeks to do it. So this is just challenging of like, do we really need to take as much time as what's been allotted? Okay, this is like the biggest, this is the big one, and then I'll leave you alone. Okay, delegating is hard because we're very good at what we do, and nobody can do it as good as we can. We can't trust them to do it as good as we can. They don't know what they're doing. We're very fast. We're we're amazing, right?
Yep.
That is true. That is true the first time. You can do it better than they can the first time. You might be able to do it better than they can the first 10 times. But at some point, they're going to be able to do it just about as well as you can. My rule is 80%. If somebody can do it as 80% as well as I can, I'm going to let them do it so they can learn. And so I don't have to do it. So I can buy back some more of my time. So think about this. I know we've heard of ROI, return on investment. We think about that in currency and money. Well, your time investment would be something like this, the 30x rule. Any task that you personally do and you're competent in, you can estimate it will take you 30 times as long to train someone to do it. All right. So if it takes you an hour, it's going to take you 30 hours to train them on how to do it as well as you can. But if you even take like a 5-minute task, you can complete it in 5 minutes. It will take you 30 times that duration, so 150 minutes. And honestly, it's probably not going to take you 150 minutes to teach someone 5 minutes, but for the sake of math, if you perform that task 250 times a year and invest 150 minutes up front, you get back over 1,100 minutes each year. So there are probably things that you are holding on to, if you're being honest with yourself. If you were like, it's going to take time, but I'm going to make that investment initially, know that they're not going to be as good as I am for those first few times, but eventually they're going to get there. And then look how much time you're going to get back so that you can do more strategic things so that you are not down in the weeds doing work that other people probably could learn how to do. Something to think about. Okay. I do have a book list in here. It's a really good one. It's a really good one. Essentialism, we talked about that. Thinking fast and slow. So two types of thinking. Also a really good one about like thinking slowly, like being more methodical, and some things where you're using heuristics and shortcuts to be a little bit quicker in your decision making. We talked about when that one's a really nerdy book, but like it's a good one. And then procrastinate on purpose. Rory Vaden is a great author. He's actually going to be speaking at the PDC coming up in a few weeks. He'll be our headline keynote. Fantastic author. I love what he says about how we're thinking about our time and the impact of how we're using that time. So I encourage you to check out these books. They'll be in the slide deck along with the other slides. Does anyone have any like final thoughts or questions before we end? Cool. I will see some of you in just a few minutes. For the rest of you, I hope you have an awesome day. Our next class is on cognitive biases in 2 weeks. This recording and the assignment will be uploaded by the end of the day tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Lindsay.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Olivia.
Bye-bye.